Oh, hi. So, yeah, as discussed, as promised, two rows of real seats in a smallish room. Don't think you should do it in the smallest room, but in a kind of smallish room, I think it becomes very possible. It might just be what you want. You know, if you want kind of more comfort, if you want people sitting in comfort and more of them, this is how I would go about it. Okay, so crucially, I'm going to pull the back row away from the back wall because we know that's important. We know it's important not to be right up against the back wall. And then I'm going to try and minimise the gap between the two. So fairly compact seating if we can, so that this gap here isn't too big. You know, I don't want the listening area to be enormous relative to the size of the room because it's hard to get good spatial effects if we do that. Also, I think you shouldn't have surround backs in here because if we look at it from above, look at that kind of classic plan view, they'd be here and here pretty much. They've got to be leftmost of the furthest left person. They've got to be to the right of the furthest right person. They've got to be kind of there and there. That's important. But I think they're so close to this guy and then very much further away from our kind of reference position here in the middle that the swings are just too big. You know, we saw when we looked at inverse square law, if you've got swings like that, it's going to be no good. That'll be so much too loud on the back row. Also, because we're quite close to it, this person at the back right doesn't get much from surround back left at all because it's so very far off axis. And this person doesn't get very much from surround back left, and so on and so on. So yeah, you're too close. I'd say take them out. And it does mean it's less good for spatial from the back row, but it means that no one gets dominated. So no one gets a bad, jarring, weird result. So that's good order. So I think we've got a good spatial performance on our front row. Bit less good spatial, but nothing wrong at all with the performance on the back row. It's still nice and dynamic. We're not weirdly close to any one speaker. We don't get a strange result. So that's good. That's preferable. And there's no doubt, in a smaller space doing two rows, one of them's got to be primary, one of them's got to be secondary. But this is a decent balance, I feel. No one's going to have a weird result. No one's going to go, what was that? And you do see those, definitely. Cool. Right, let's look at viewing a minute. So at the front row, I've gone for 53 degrees. Bit smaller than my dem room, but on the bigger end of immersive. Pretty nice, I reckon. And what that leaves us with for the back row is 37, which is still nicely inside cinema. It's definitely smaller. It's definitely not as immersive, but it's definitely, you know, you feel like you're at the movies. THX did a metric about that, and they always sort of considered 36 as the backstop of being good. People always said, oh, that's the recommendation. No, it's kind of a backstop thing. But we're inside that, which is great. This is the sort of thing I might do if it suits you. You know, so we've tipped the balance away from spatial performance for all six, like we did with the bar stools, but into comfort. So if you're more social, if everyone wants to relax, have a drink, watch the sport, play some games, watch the footy, watch a comedy, great. And for the front row, still very good, spatial, immersive. You know, that'll be your kind of film night optimised row there. So I think that works really, really well. Next up, I think we're going to look at the overheads, but we'll do that on another episode because I like to keep these short. Lovely.